Hello and welcome to the Easy Allies podcast. I'll be your moderator, Brandon Jones. Joining me this week, panelists Michael Damiani.
How's it going, everyone?
Ben Moore. Sup? My Emmy-crushing co-moderator, Daniel Bloodworth.
Hello.
And Isla Hink is on vacations. It's just us. No fancy lights, no fancy cuts. This is the main cut.
I mean, we've all crushed a few Emmys. I'm not sure about you, but the rest of us have.
No, but judging by the quality of that game, what I'm hearing, that's the GOTY discussion this year demands it. Excited.
It's a joy.
It's a good feeling to just bump something up, on your to-do list, on your backlog. Whoop. Not only just as far as franchise, never really invested that much in Metroid. Here we go. Distinguished guests, we are here to discuss some of the biggest headlines in video games this week. But before we do that, we must first answer for the mistakes we made in last week's podcast. I need you to begin corrections music, Daniel Bloodworth. Thank you. It's Thomas the Tank Engine, not Thomas the Train Engine. That's one for the books. Gotta remember that. Konami is making... somebody was like, well, Konami's still doing stuff. Konami's making...
They very much are, yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel, which recently had a closed beta. Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. There has no release date, but there are trailers. Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duel, which is coming to the West, and they still support Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual Links. So, Yu-Gi-Oh! fans out there, you're doing fine.
Do you ever have those things in the back of your mind where you're like, I want to get into this, but I know I shouldn't? Yu-Gi-Oh! is one of those for me. Where it's I know this is a terrible idea, but I kind of want to.
Well, Yu-Gi-Oh! Makes a big play at Comic-Con, or used to when Comic-Con San Diego was a thing, but they always had a giant booth.
Yeah.
It was funny,
they're
always right next to Weta, so you would just have these huge special effects, statues, costumes, everything, and then Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm just man, I would get that email every year. The Yu-Gi-Oh's come on by.
Konami used to dangle it too. It's
We'll
hey, come
you
cover
up.
some stuff. Also, we got Yu-Gi-Oh! If you want to check out.
Yu-Gi-Oh! is one of those things where I think it's easy to ignore, but once you actually take a look at it, you're like, oh my god, this is massive. Yeah.
It's intense. Super Mario Party never had updates planned or promised. They never said they were going to do that.
Oh, this is the
lot
thing.
of people assumed it.
Huber always gets called out for this because
yeah.
Huber always says that he thinks he heard it somewhere, and then we tell him no, and then he still repeats it.
Just to be official, Sherlock Holmes canon includes 56 short stories, 4 novels. Additionally, there are many plays, poems, essays, etc. written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle himself that are extra canonical or non-canonical. I like extra canonical. We did our Q4 preview. We talked about October, November, and December, and if a ton of people had done this, I would not have mentioned it, but just 2 said that their games they were excited about. Voice of Cards is on the 28th. We did not mention that. And Nick B. Leavitt is a fan of all of these. Riftbreaker is on October 14th. Caligula Effect 2 is on October 19th. Ever Tried is on October 21st.
That one I'm not sure of.
Tandem, A Tale of Shadows is on October 21st. Yeah. The game or the date? You sure know the game?
The one before Tandem I hadn't heard of. Ever Tried?
Ever Tried, yeah. Just Dance 2022 on 11/4. Ellipses after that. I think that was just a guilty pleasure. Blue Reflection Second Light is on November 9th. Chorvis, my favorite Chorvis.
Chorus, but yeah.
Also, a.k.a. Chorus, is on December 3rd. Demon Gaze Extra is on December 9th. And their personal, this is it, in quotes, Sol Cresta from Platinum Games.
Yeah,
is on December 9th.
I saw through the grapevine that no one went to bat for SMT5, and that made me a little sad.
Depends who's on the podcast.
Yeah, I know.
It's a different preview every time.
Still.
Trying to get that code. I was reminded. I had another Sega thing to ask about. I'm like, hey, what about that thing?
I'm gonna ask you to end that corrections music. Nice. Let's play Starring Role. Starring Role is where we get to fix cinema. We're trying to fix video games one game at a time with our reviews, but now we got to fix cinema too, because one of these is going to crush you, and it sucks because the movie's not going to be as good. But we got to do what we got to do. We have to fill in roles of actors who have left films, but we can only fill them with video game characters. We have 2 movies that we need to save. This is a series actually from Alexander Zarianoff. Bryan Cranston does not want to do Breaking Bad. He's out. He's not a fan of the subject matter. He's out.
After it transformed my life, I decided I'm done.
Yeah. just getting started. Time traveling back to the beginning of Breaking Bad.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We got to replace him. Who do we replace him with? Nico Bellic from GTA 4? Joel Miller from The Last of Us? Or William Birkin from Resident Evil? Not the first time Birkin's come up for casting.
Birkin.
Proud of Birkin for getting into acting.
I think Birkin is a little bit too comic book villainy for Breaking Bad. He's great in Resident Evil, but I don't know if he would fit for Breaking Bad.
Walter's not maniacal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling Nico.
I think Nico would work, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. He kind of... It's a very similar vibe, I feel like. Yeah, anyway, so it would make the most sense.
It wouldn't take much of a push.
No.
For him
Yeah. Though, I'm kind of curious to see Joel.
Yeah.
Like the whole...
I feel like there's something else out there that but I can't put my finger on it. Like there's somebody else that would be really...
Wario.
I would watch it. I would watch it.
But second place,
what pushed Wario over the edge?
From RF Switch, Evil Dead 2.
Oh no!
I refuse.
What I love
I
is
abstain.
What I love that RF Switch specifically labels that Bruce Campbell's leaving. He's leaving his actual
No.
no bad blood. Sam Raimi just didn't think he fit the goofiness of the movie.
This is
the worst
needs to
timeline.
specifically
Why?
mention. Which you know
This
there's
is
bad
heresy.
blood. You know there's bad blood between Raimi and Campbell. If you followed their careers, the two of them love pranking each other.
Dude.
So I could totally see there being bad blood. But this movie's got to happen. And we got to do it with either Leon S. Kennedy,
No.
Nathan Drake, or
No.
Dante.
Dante.
Yeah.
Dante's the one.
Sure,
Out
Dante.
of those.
Yeah. Out of those, I would say
Dante's
Dante.
yeah.
It's a different movie, but it might not be
Dante.
a worse movie.
Well, I don't know, man. Thinking about it, because I recently replayed Resident Evil 4, and Leon is so gloriously cheesy in that game, but not really in a Bruce Campbell way. I think Dante fits the Ash vibes a little bit more.
Yeah. I'm thinking, who do I want to see picked up and thrown through a series of trees? And like Leon, I don't know if it's as satisfying as Dante
Yeah.
or Drake, but sounds like Nico.
That
and
one
Dante are
hurts
hired.
me.
Yep.
I know they're all. I mean,
Dante can take a beating too.
sure,
He can.
it's true. These are brutal. We had to replace the Millennium Falcon in one of these episodes. It's not an easy thing to do, but that's why we're putting ourselves out there. Thank you so much. Glad we could help.
But if we ever get a chance, we're not going to, but if we ever get a chance to interview Bruce Campbell, you let me know. I would lose my mind.
Got to do it.
Yeah. You did?
He it was If Chins Could Kill. He was at autograph session, and I got to chat with the man. I told him that a friend of mine in college said I reminded him, my friend, of Bruce Campbell, and I said that's the best compliment anyone has ever given me in my entire life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell, funny guy.
Legend.
We don't talk about Call of Duty cheating here on this Easy All Eyes podcast. It is something I've seen lots of people talk about. It is something that, for as little Call of Duty as I have played, I know that obviously not only is cheating prevalent in a lot of multiplayer games, specifically PC multiplayer games, but then in Call of Duty, it is game breaking. It is, making some streamers question, do I want to play Warzone? Making some Call of Duty fans realize it's time to bounce off this and hopefully catch that beautiful 1 week period when that new mode or new game comes out and maybe, they haven't figured out how to go in there and break the game yet.
And I think that's the point to emphasize is that it has been really disastrous for Warzone and incredibly prevalent in Warzone specifically, yeah.
So Call of Duty is doing something about it, or it would seem that they are. This is something that I've seen people complain about a lot. I've seen lots of clips on Twitter of people like, one of these days, hopefully Activision will do something about that. What they are doing about it is called Ricochet. And they are selling it like it is a map or DLC coming to Call of Duty. I mean, like, it has a logo that is metal and shiny.
I had a warning letter the day before.
Yeah.
This is an intimidating system, folks. And cut yourself on this thing. Ricochet Anti-Cheat is a robust anti-cheat system. This is from Call of Duty on their website. Supported by a team of dedicated professionals focused on fighting unfair play. The initiative is a multifaceted approach to combat cheating, featuring new server-side tools which monitor analytics to identify cheating, enhanced investigation processes to stamp out cheaters, and updates to strengthen account security, and more. Is this what you think people are wanting to hear that have been asking for this?
So it's a topic that's kind of fascinated me when it got brought up, because I think there are valid points on kind of both sides of this, and I don't know if there's really currently any approach that I can think of where you please everyone or don't have any repercussions in some way, because people are adamantly against evasive anti-cheat software, as they should be, because it is annoying and a risk, frankly.
Invasive, you mean.
It is, sorry, what did I say? Evasive? I meant invasive. Yes, that's what I meant. I misspoke. But at the same time, like, people are so insistent on cheating, and it is so ruinous and is so widespread that, like, strong action has to be taken. And so I am sympathetic to it. So Valorant has Vanguard, I believe, which has kind of received a similar controversy. But to my understanding, it has also been pretty effective and kind of helped buoy Valorant in the kind of popular position that it's seen itself in. And so it's like, I get it, and I get that people don't like it, but I really don't know what else to do. And so I cannot comment on Ricochet specifically, but I sympathize with their need to be aggressive.
And Activision doesn't know what to do either, because they're obviously doing something that some people would consider evasive, specifically. And it's funny because Valorant has Vanguard, Call of Duty has Ricochet, which is launching with Vanguard. Call of Duty Vanguard.
Right.
Gets a little
But
confusing.
isn't it's starting with Warzone, though, right?
It's starting with Warzone.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yep.
It is starting with Vanguard. It is launching later this year with the Pacific update coming to Call of Duty Warzone.
Maybe I misread it, because I could have sworn I read that it was starting with Warzone.
Launching alongside Vanguard.
Okay. All right. I'm on.
That was from their blog post. But other stuff has changed, throughout this week. But yeah, they definitely want to mention Warzone. Developed into, this is weird, launching alongside Vanguard, and later this year with the Pacific update coming to Call of Duty Warzone. In addition to server enhancements, is the launch of a new PC kernel-level driver developed internally for the Call of Duty franchise and launching first for Call of Duty Warzone. So the driver launches for Warzone. This driver will assist in the identification of cheaters, reinforcing and strengthening the overall server security. The kernel-level driver launches alongside the Pacific update for Warzone later this year, Vanguard at a later date. Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of
they kind of seem to
there's
say
a lot
both.
of trying
Sorry.
to market things in bundles here that makes it confusing.
They definitely want to say that it's coming to everything, because I'm sure players who are affected by one of these things want to be, they want to get it and they want it to work. Are you cozy with something looking at your software when you open it and then promising to close itself after you close the software?
I mean, this type of stuff has always been controversial in the past, but as Ben put it, because I only know this from secondhand, because I don't actively play Call of Duty, but obviously Warzone is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, games on Twitch. A lot of the biggest streamers play it, but as Ben pointed out, it has a very long history of being plagued by cheaters, and it sounded like it came to a point where push has come to shove, and Activision needed to do something, and they went with something very drastic. Because also, as you said, I know that sorry, which is the other game that uses
Valorant.
Valorant already uses something similar, and it's been, as you said, it sounds like it's actually working despite the criticisms. So they're probably just like following in the footsteps, like, oh, what is the most effective solution out there that's working, proven? Let's do something similar. We'll do this. We'll deal with the backlash, because the backlash they're getting for the cheating is like persistent and like overwhelming. So it's like they got to do something, and I think something short of effective would also draw like doubts and sow dissent about whatever they try to do going forward. So I think they kind of needed to be effective, even if it's too effective, or maybe like false positives happen. Like that's better probably to have for them as an issue, because then they can start maybe to scale it back, versus it doesn't do anything. Like cheating was still rampant after they did something. Everyone's gonna be like, we have no faith in you whatsoever.
And it's interesting purely from a marketing perspective, because just recently, and correct me if I'm wrong, you had Battlefield getting out there very specifically being like, this is what we're going to do to combat cheaters. And so if Battlefield and Call of Duty are coming out within a relatively close period of time, you don't want your competition to be touting something that you don't have. And so making such a big deal about Ricochet, especially in light of how rampant it is in Warzone, I think helps you just from a perspective consideration as well.
Yeah, and both games also announced new modes within minutes of each other this morning.
Yeah,
Call of Duty Zombies and
exactly.
the, Battlefield. What is it? what is it, Hard Zone or? I forget
Yeah,
what
it's
called,
hard
yeah.
something. I'm blanking on the name.
Sorry. All right, I have multiple choice right here.
What is it?
Hard tack, hard line, hard front.
Hard floor. No, that's kidding. But I mean, this wasn't like it seems like
I thought you were making a different kind of joke. Right?
Yeah. No. Because Huber always goes on the champion Battlefield saying like this could be its year to like eat the most into like Call of Duty what it has done, but obviously it had that delay to November, so that slowed like put a little bit of a damper on its momentum, but it still has a lot of potential.
Hazard Zone.
Hazard Zone.
Okay.
We were way off.
We were way off.
Samsonite.
No, we just forgot the Z.
That's something.
forgot the
It's
Z.
so funny because it's something like I feel like I've had described to me multiple times within the last month, and it just vanished from my brain.
I think you were making a good point, Ben, because I think they both are walking such a fine line where they're any perceived like flaw or weakness in one of them with the player base, they will go to the other one, and Activision's probably like, no, we can't chance anything. Like even if we're doing the same thing as what the competition is doing, like we'll have the same consequences then. But like we're ahead right now. Like we just want to maintain. Seems like just playing it safe to maintain, but at the same time, anything that involves like kernel level stuff, just as I said, like has a history of it could go wrong, and something could be dug. Like given Activision's current status, I would not blame a lot of people for having zero trust in that company doing something over, say, even EA. Like, oh yeah, EA Battlefield or with what Valorant's doing. Like, we trust you guys a little bit more, but Activision, man, you're in a shitty spot right now. Like, don't get out of here. Like, I'm done with Call of Duty. I'm like, it could have some back.
So
more
yeah,
backlash.
so. I know, Ben, you were talking to somebody about this, and I'm honestly not that up to speed with this, but I'm sure a lot of other people aren't either. What is the issue with PC kernel level software like this?
Right. I will only speak to my understanding, which I admit is extremely limited and flawed. And so I could definitely see appropriate corrections coming in after I say this. But when they say kernel level, it's accessing it at such a vulnerable level of your PC that if it were to be compromised, it would really, really, really screw you over. It's like it's essentially digging in so deep that if something bad were to happen, it would be really bad. I'm describing it as simply as possible, but you kind of get what I'm trying to.
But do you mean bad
illustrate.
as in somebody spying on your computer, or bad as in your computer fails?
Bad as in yes, having access to your computer. I think is maybe the best way to position it.
Because it's basically spying on just Call of Duty.
Right.
Like it's like I'm doing some super secret spy stuff on your computer just to the software, and only when it's open. And you're like, okay. And it was funny that the blog mentioned that in paragraph form, and then later in bullet point form. Just to make sure, just so you trust us.
Going back to the perspective thing and like the two teams kind of viewing it from a marketing perspective, Call of Duty is in an interesting position, whereas like Valorant is a PC-only game, and so I think the audience is going to be kind of more aware of like what invasive anti-cheat means and why that could be a problem. But you think about Call of Duty, and I bet it's such a wide audience that I would wager that a considerable number of players aren't going to consider what kernel level means or like what invasive anti-cheat is or why that's a problem. They're just hearing, oh my God, this is going to fix the cheater problem. I'm all on board.
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting to me when like you kind of go outside of your own bubble and maybe think of like how a more mainstream audience is potentially perceiving this.
I'm also very curious if this will have, because I'm also very limited in my knowledge about some of this stuff too, but one thing I've seen spring up in various like articles I've read like on sites is about not just like cheating with like PC tools and stuff, but like controllers you can buy with like tools in the controller which do like advanced aim assist and stuff like that. There's like a name for one of them that's very popular, and it's like almost undetectable, and unless you're like caught like on stream holding it up or something like that. And will this do something about it? Because it seems like even with something like this, people still seem to find a way when it's like a popular enough thing. So I'm curious if this would also like solve that, because it'd be nice, because it's like anything that connects to the game, even a peripheral, it will still detect that it's using something that's modified and be like, you're flagged, your account's flagged, we're going to look at this closely and be like, oh yeah, your controller was doing some shit a normal person couldn't do, so you're banned, you cheated. So
why did they do this in 2021, Bloodworth? 100 million people play Warzone. Raven Software so far has banned 600,000 accounts. Do you think Activision's was just sweating the whole time? Like, we were out, we're working on it. And then they finally surfaced this month. Oh, we did it. Here's our thing. Or they were just when it hit 400,000 accounts, they were like, wake me when it hits 500. Like, what? Like, why now?
I think it's just, it becomes this thing to where if your general experience playing the game is you're, just going against obvious cheaters, they're going to see those numbers start to slide off. And Warzone is as big, if not bigger, than traditional Call of Duty for them right now. So they don't want to risk that whatsoever. Like, Call of Duty's their cash cow. They're going to keep that thing going any way that they can.
It becomes this cloud, or maybe rather like a parasite that kind of sucks away the life from Warzone, because Warzone's business model, what it relies on, is a continual flow of updates and new things to keep players engaged or re-engage lapsed players. And when your new announcements are bundled with, hey, look, check out all this new stuff, and people are still cheating, it really cuts into the core of what that business model is and what it's trying to do. And so, like, they have to get rid of it.
Yeah, I wonder if there was a swell of maybe some bad publicity recently on top of maybe some
For
of the
Activision? I couldn't help myself. Sorry.
Okay. Specific to this issue,
Right.
like it wasn't. I don't remember what game it was. Wasn't there a story about like some like hackers took over like in the beta already like hacked? Was it the new Call of Duty Vanguard or something? Like they already like had hacked
I think you might be thinking of Battlefield on that one.
Battlefield, but like okay, never mind. But I wonder if there was any like recent swell of publicity for cheating in this game where it was getting so out of hand that like it was just getting constant coverage on top of potentially maybe their biggest players and streamers were discussing, hey, maybe we're going to switch games and stuff. Like we're going to go to Battlefield, or man, I'm getting really burnt out on all the cheating in this game. I don't know how much, like they have people who are probably tracking this stuff. And I wonder if someone said like, hey, we've been ignoring this for a long time because we can afford to, because like, it's so big, like it's too big to fail. But now we're at a point where there's some momentum for some other games, plus dissent in top streamers talking about maybe moving on. This could be the thing that turns the tide. So we should do something about this now. This is the point where someone in turn is like, okay, now's the time.
And that's the other thing is you mentioned like Twitch streamers, or just like what is kind of holding people's attention, and there is so much competition that you want to do everything you can to like avoid the experience of somebody getting into a match being like, that was a waste of time, the cheater just won, I'm gonna go play Valorant, or any other comparable game. It doesn't really matter. You need to provide as few of reasons as possible for them to move on. Yeah,
people generally have like PvP type stuff is kind of hard for average people to get into. Like,
it's very demanding
because of the mentality of winning.
Yeah,
and I think if you are overwhelmed with like cheaters and like your most of your users are having bad as you said, to elaborate, like that that's the thing. It's already a tall enough hurdle to get people to, it's a huge game, but it still was like a big risk to do, because it's like there's no guarantee he's going to succeed. But when you're at this point of success, why chance it?
Yeah.
But also like when I misspoke a little bit earlier, but not clarifying about like this specific topic, but to the broader issue of Activision, maybe this don't want any more like scrutiny. It's like we can make this go away, or at least like alleviate this issue. We don't need another headache on top of all the other issues we're dealing with right now. So like that could be another reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to find out, when they started working on this. If you have to rewind the clock 6 months to a year ago, because this is like a multi-pronged approach. The PC software is part of it, but also what they're talking about, the servers and like hiring all this extra staff. This has been like a long time to analyze the problem and figure out what they could do, and then like really start investing these resources. And so just to be able to say we're going to launch this thing within the next few weeks, they've had a lot of time already invested in this. I think the other thing too, with it being free to play, is you can't have people come in, check it out, and then have like Ben's saying, have their time wasted,
right?
Because they're just gone. You know, when you have a $60 game or something, you at least have that sort of sense of, well, I invested in this time. Let me play a few more matches and see if I just had a bad night. Free to play, it's you're skipping stones, and it's like if you're not sticky enough,
right,
they're gone.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like online multiplayer 101, but it's just also Activision that we're dealing with. So I look at like the amount of money Call of Duty made last year, now that we have Warzone in the picture and mobile, and they're just like so many properties.
Yeah.
And it's like I would see that as the time that Activision would very much not invest in something like this, because they're just like, Call of Duty's already earning so much for us. So I'm excited that this could potentially be a solution to this. Oh no, Anti-Cheat PD said on Twitter, quote, "Unfortunately, the kernel driver for Call of Duty's new anti-cheat called Ricochet got leaked today, and P2C devs are already reversing it. This is already very bad."
I'm not convinced on how bad it is, but I saw that going around.
And then tweeted again later, "We talked to a reverse engineer on his thoughts on the driver, and we concluded it's nothing that special, really. They collect a lot of user information, which they did before it went kernel. Their protection to the driver's not that great, but will be reversed easily." Like, okay, this is a roller coaster ride, with this potentially being the answer for Call of Duty or not. And I'm seeing a lot of sentiment of cheaters being like, please, I'm gonna cheat in Warzone. Doesn't matter what system you can set up. And that could be just talk. Or
maybe if that's what you're thinking, right. Maybe like reevaluate.
that particular satisfaction in gaming, like to be like, I want my playthrough to be as manufactured as possible. I want my gains, none of them to be earned, you know, the way the rules had been set. That's a passion that some people have. I wonder if they have a passion for that because of Call of Duty, because they like Call of Duty, or they have a passion because they know that's the number one, you know, most popular game that people are playing, the one that's making the most revenue. They're like, these are the players I want to piss off more than anybody. I don't even like Call of Duty. I just love making these players mad.
I have to imagine there is some innate satisfaction in destroying such like an institution. You know what I mean? Like something so monumentally big.
Maybe not like for big, but like just to like, you know, like it's the prestige, because this is prevalent with Nintendo. Like, Nintendo doesn't care about, like, they make statements about cheating. That's like why you can't back up saves of Pokemon, but like their Nintendo games have the most rampant cheating of anything because like no one cares, and it's like people like just like hack their leaderboards and stuff. So like nonchalantly, just like whatever. Here's like a fake time, or here's like fake scores and stuff, and like no one cares. But like they just do it because they're like, haha, Nintendo, we're just pointing out how much your like online sucks. So I mean, it could obviously be point of that. It's like, yeah, like Activision, you guys suck. It's like, I'm doing this because, you know, we know you can do better, but you're too lazy or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I also have to imagine, because how many articles I've read over the years with like competitive online multiplayer stuff, how like I feel like some people feel like it's like normalized, and like so like maybe it's like okay, like everyone else is doing it, I'm just gonna do it. Right. Like there's no thing. It's like,
well, you have to imagine that there's this domino effect of like somebody's really into a particular game, maybe they've spent a lot of money or they've just put a lot of time in, and then they get into a match that they're really excited about and they experience cheaters. And like this is probably somebody that never would have thought about it before, but they're like, this person wasted my time. Well, I'm gonna do it too. Like that has to be like this domino effect that just happens.
Or you have a sense of like, I recognize this player. They're doing a lot. I want to get back at them. I'm gonna beat them at their own game. But I'm gonna use this and like teach them how it feels. Like there's a whole multitude of reasons. But like at the end of the day, if like you're like trying to just like legitimately play it, whether it's for skill or for enjoyment with your friends, like sometimes maybe you can laugh it off when it happens, like an occasional like rare thing. But like what's happening every match, pretty much. It just gets to a point where you're like, why bother? It like, especially if you like even have any semblance of trying, it just feels like so like you're helpless. You can't do anything like playing by the rules. It's like, I'm just gonna go play something else because basically it's not fun anymore. Right. And yeah, it's like, but I mean, this has been going on for like since like since like OG Counter-Strike, or maybe even older than that. Yeah. This is like since day one of PC gaming. It's like been a thing. With online competitive games.
Well, it ends today.
It has always been a thing, but I think a point to consider is that no matter how popular your thing is, your popularity is tenuous at best, where there are so many things competing for your attention. Like, think about how many games there have been, even in just the last 3 years, that have reached meteoric highs and then just kind of petered out. Like, the audience is fickle only because they have so much competing for their attention.
That's a good point. Because back in the day, you had to deal with it.
Right.
Or you go make a private server, but
Right.
It was the only game you had to play. I do wonder if they will ever get to a point where, because there's obviously money involved. There's sponsored like top players, because you see every now and then in a competitive scene, even within a tournament itself, players using stuff like that to win.
Yeah.
And it's in Call of Duty, it's what if a top streamer is caught using this and stuff, and it's it involves money and all this other stuff. I wonder if maybe lawyers at Activision also for the reason why they're doing this now, Jones, is maybe because it's hey, we need to cover our asses a little bit. Again, because of everything that's going on with them as well.
Right.
It's yeah, even if it's not us, but a popular streamer does it or something, then they can maybe sue us or something, or players can sue us because of some EULA thing. I don't know, but it's just weird how back in the day, as you were saying, it was something that. At best, it was trolling. It was like someone who was trying to get a rise out of people or whatever. And now it's people use it to get good. They get sponsorships. They make it their career, and it's holy shit. That's it's a little intense.
I mean, and esports was so much less of an institution, back in the days that you're thinking of. It's not that it didn't exist, but it wasn't
so decentralized.
There wasn't the kind of money that is involved as there is now. Yeah, for sure.
Blood, if you were to pick a word that would describe cheating in PC game, one word, but do it in a way to make it sound complex, but also kind of absolve you of guilt, it makes it sound interesting. It's oh, well, that sounds like a tough thing for you to deal with. What's a good word? They used one word numerous times in this blog post.
Oh no!
Anything jump to mind?
Poopy.
Sophisticated. Sophisticated. They're we're dealing with a very sophisticated issue. And you're whoa, well, then take your time, Activision, because I don't want you to rush that.
Activision is dealing with some sophisticated issues.
They are. They are becoming a very sophisticated company. Well, we talked about cheating in Call of Duty. I would like to move on to something else I know very little about. FIFA.
Man, with the Call of Duty issue, it's okay, I have some semblance of what's going on. I have my foot in the door. You say FIFA, and it's
here we go.
I got nothing.
Oh man,
I got you nothing.
I got you.
I do love hearing FIFA stories.
I got you covered.
They're pretty wild. They're pretty wild.
Oh, I don't know a lot about soccer, but I know about brands, baby. According to the New York Times, quote, FIFA is seeking more than double what it currently receives from EA Sports, according to people with knowledge of the talks, a figure that would increase its payout from the series to more than $1 billion for each 4-year World Cup cycle. So we don't know the specifics, but there's lots of rumors out there floating that there is a serious conversation going on right now between Electronic Arts and FIFA about what they are going to do moving forward. Which raises the question, how much does EA need FIFA? How much does FIFA need EA?
EA needs FIFA. It is their moneymaker.
EA needs that franchise for sure. Do they need the name?
Yes.
It's kind of tricky.
I think
yes,
so.
absolutely.
I feel like that's historically, with maybe one or two exceptions, sports games come down to who has the license. Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Cam
It's
Weber,
one of the
EA,
2K games, I think, put up a good fight at
Yeah.
one point, and that's
Cam Weber, EA Sports general manager, said, quote, our naming rights agreement with FIFA is separate from all our other official partnerships and licenses across the football world. So FIFA's just one piece of the pie. That may be the name that's on the game, but in order to get all of those teams in there, all those divisions, all those flags, all those likenesses, all that stuff. And they got another name. FIFA 22 launched on October 1st. Over 9.1 million players were checking it out in the first week. And on Monday of this week, EA trademark EA Sports FC.
Football club, okay.
Yeah. EA Sports FC for Football Club, which they used for their online community in the FIFA series from 2011 to 2020. So the community already knows. They've already embraced that name. Oh, we know that name. EA Sports FC. Does that roll off the shelves like FIFA?
No.
No, it doesn't have the recognizability. I mean, it just sounds like their backup plan. Like if this goes to hell.
FIFA is such powerful branding now that for many, many, many people, when you say a soccer or football game, it is FIFA. Like I know if you were maybe a little bit more in enthusiast crowds, you might mention like PES or something like that. But like FIFA has such, it's like a verb in and of itself for a type of thing that people are so familiar with and come to rely on year over year that like it I don't know. And like I'm not a FIFA guy, so maybe I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, but FIFA feels like essential branding that like it would crumble without it.
Yeah, it's like we call it Kleenex instead of
tissue
or rollerblades instead of inline skates. It's like FIFA instead of like soccer. It's like I mean not quite, but like it's in that vein. But yeah, FIFA asking for money. I mean, I think they have a little bit of a case there because of like how powerful that branding is. But don't also forget, coming off just Activision talk, FIFA was also embroiled in a bit of a scandal as well recently. So I mean, EA could maybe hit back with that. It's like, hey, you guys over there, your reputation's not, sterling either. So maybe you want to dial it back a little bit.
Well, and I bet, you're FIFA, you're any sports league, and you're trying to figure out how to survive the last couple of years. And then there's EA over there just making a mint. Like EA's like, oh wait, 2020, fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the amount of money they make off of all of the microtransactions and.
I mean, it's the only time I've ever been.
Limitless.
I mean, this isn't an invitation, but it's the only time I've ever been hacked on any of my accounts and anything in gaming. My Xbox 360 account was hacked. When I finally got access back, there were the FIFA cards. That's like the only thing that happened.
Those were big stories, man.
Got a bunch of FIFAs, and so I was upset that I lost access to my account. But I was like, I'm in this story. I'm in a headline. This is kind of I can speak from experience.
FIFA
I'm a FIFA fan.
I feel like there are very, very, very few things in gaming where this is true, but like it's almost too big to fail in the same way that Call of Duty is too big to fail, where like you go online and you're like, everyone is complaining about this. Like it seems like no one is happy. They're pissed off for one reason or another. They're not happy with this year's version of the game. And then it is like the top selling game of the year, right? And so it's like there are so few precious properties where that can happen that like it is you want to keep, from a raw business perspective, like in the sleaziest way, you want to keep that running as best you can.
Yeah, I mean it's just like the power. Even if you're not into the game, you can lose yourself for hours watching like reacting to people's videos of like cracking those packs and stuff and getting those things like the breaking a TV or something, like those things like go viral all the time. It's like this thing is huge, and honestly, I could see probably in this case, I would guess FIFA does have the upper hand by a lot. And if EA can't afford the price tag and doesn't want to do it, I mean, there'll be someone else who's lined up because it's like, we want in on this. Like, we'll get some developer to make this. Like, we just want the license. We'll get you a developer. Like, we just want the license.
If Konami got it.
After
all of a sudden,
we've covered, as we frequently do when we cover football on this show. We talked about that last week. The launch of their new service, what PES has become.
Well, I'm thinking of like a Tencent or like another big gaming entity who does have the funding. Is like EA's nothing. Like we have way more money than them. Like EA's passing it up. That license, someone will grab it.
I feel like EA will do like they will sacrifice any child to make it happen.
I feel like
or will they sacrifice children to have their own IP, to have their own? They're like, well, now we can do. We have these licenses.
Whoever's thinking of that is crazy.
You don't tell us how much you're worth.
No.
We're Electronic Arts.
Yeah, the executive that has your idea, Jones at EA, is like, don't listen to them. That's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
They think they're a genius. Like if we owned the content, we'd get all the profits.
2K did get the PGA. So potentially, if someone's going to sweep it up, it could be them.
I just feel like that's so less valuable than FIFA.
Well, it's.
Well, I think the name EA had going, they had Tiger Woods, right? They really.
Oh yeah,
PGA was always secondary.
Like when they did like Triple Play, when they did the series, they do find clever ways where they do make good series names, but I think at this point like. FIFA, like they gotta go FIFA.
It's like them losing.
That name you gave me is not the name that's gonna be like
Sports FC.
No, that's not doing it. I was like, no, that's not working.
College football too, making a comeback. They haven't had college football in a super long time.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are interesting times here over at EA. It's tricky, to figure out like how much does Tiger Woods matter? How much does PGA Tour matter? How much does FIFA matter? My buddies from high school play FIFA, and they play one of my things that I respect the most about FIFA is this multiplayer mode where like every single person on the field is all a separate multiplayer character. And so they've done this for years. They have the same squad that they play with all the time. And I always ask them, I'm like, do they play anything else when you talk to them? They're like, no, they FIFA. That's it. That's like the only video game any of these people play.
That's a lot of people.
So I wonder, when I think about this crew, like, are they going to follow EA or are they going to follow FIFA? If Tencent picks it up and does some weird free-to-play thing?
I'll probably do FIFA because, like, in your specific example, I think Tiger Woods is a bigger name than PGA. Just how it is. Tiger Woods was like the biggest thing to happen to golf for the longest time. Yeah. And that was the face of golf. It's almost like if you did like Michael Jordan instead of NBA basketball. Like people would play a series called Michael Jordan Basketball, probably over whatever you want to call it, official NBA. Whereas Madden, it's like it's same thing. Like people probably don't even know who John Madden is anymore. And they just know it's the football game. And it is the football game, and you get to play it. And I don't.
It's literally the football
and I don't even know if
game.
people even associate with EA. Like the average person who plays it probably doesn't even know it's like EA. Maybe they're aware of the logo, but they're like, if went to another developer, they're like, is it still Madden? Cool, I'm getting it next year. Like I think that would be with FIFA. It's like, is that the new FIFA game? Okay, I don't care. Made it. Let's go. Let's play it and stuff.
Yeah. On Tuesday, EA and the Global Union of Professional Football Players, FIF Pro, announced an extension of their contract. With the extended partnership, the developer will be able to continue using player likenesses that are supported by the Football Union. And this is interesting. It pops up where FIFA's like, wait a minute, you're making too much money. We need some of this money if we're going to continue on. Because I've seen like players doing that too. Players are like, wait, how much does FIFA make?
Right.
Wait, how much are you making? Wait, I'm in that game, right? Shouldn't I get some of this money? So it's interesting. They said the deal doesn't expire until the end of 2022, but it's like now is when all the heated discussions are happening.
Right, yeah. They try to close that by the end of the year.
It's so funny because just as a super enthusiast group that Easy Allies is, there's so much controversy over, and rightfully so. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but there's so much controversy over like microtransactions and pay to win and like how things are implemented, and it's like super heavily scrutinized. And then like I just think of it like in the other room, FIFA is just like throwing money in there. Like, they just keep buying it, and it's it's like it's not the same scrutiny that is happening.
Right.
There's so much more intensity in the conversation over something that is infinitely smaller.
Yeah. Well, we talk about, MPDs, and we look back at months and quarters and figure, okay, this game sold more than this in a given year, or this developer really blew up, totally ignoring the fact that, like, Hardfire, what is that game? That weird mobile game that just, like, is the biggest game in the world. I mean, it's just like
Crossfire?
Crossfire.
Oh,
yeah, there's like
it's more PC, but yeah.
But there's just some League of Legends. There's just some there's some games that we just don't come into the conversation, and they are everything. They are the world. What everybody's checking out. Hey, Mr. Dates, you always get your dates right. When did FIFA start? What was the year? The first FIFA game.
Oh,
I don't know. Like
I'm gonna say
90s.
It was the 90s.
I'm gonna say 94.
Close, 93.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
FIFA International Soccer for the Sega Genesis.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was thinking. Yeah. I was thinking something along those lines.
And just to, just for clarification, EA only said they're, quote, exploring the idea of renaming our global EA Sports football games. So maybe they won't, but we'll see. That is the third longest title partner in publisher history, behind NHL in 91 and Madden way back in 1988.
Do they still make NHL games?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They do. Madden.
Just thinking about Madden, you excited?
No, I mean,
daydreaming about Madden. I was going to move on with this podcast.
No,
you just seem like a
like,
swell of love for Madden.
Just the wonder, like you were saying, like these establishments have been around for so long. I'm like wondering when will be the year that Madden fails. Like it has to happen at some point. It's like will it be like the year 3000 or is it like 10 years from now?
Like the post-apocalypse happens, but there's still somehow the yearly Madden game. Like society has crumbled. Yeah.
It becomes like a national holiday or something. It's like
that would be.
We remember Madden.
Like it becomes a new form of currency. Like if you want to trade, you I'll give you 3 discs of Madden 2021 for your shotgun shells.
Oh my!
That'd be such a spectacular hidden joke in some post-apocalyptic movie where you see all the dates of all the games, just like, and that was the year everything fell. Like how there's PS3s in Last of Us,
Yeah.
Just like, but Madden continued to sell. The new Madden on sale right now. I was just going to bring the System Shock live action series, which I'm excited about because I'm a System Shock fan.
Yeah?
All those BioShock fans over there, and I'm in the corner like, System Shock. But we got a bunch of things that are like being optioned, some things, companies that are potentially just gobbling up more things. Video game properties are so popular now. Not only are they being announced that we're, getting more TV shows and stuff like that. A lot of these are just being optioned, which means they're just like, we're going to take a look. We get first look. Meaning if anybody wants in on that, we get our first pick. We're not even sure if we like it yet, which is crazy. We're throwing money at you. We don't even know what we're buying. Binge and Night Dive Studios is working on this System Shock live action series, which hopefully will take place on Citadel Station.
Your Mass Effect experience crept in there.
Nice, yes. It's called Citadel Station, but yeah, I definitely got Citadel in the brain. Binge's streaming service will launch in 2022. Binge. Is Binge a name? Did you know they had there was a streaming service called Binge?
I feel like there's something called Binge that already existed.
You know what?
Bing,
Recycled.
maybe we were thinking of?
No, I know.
If there's one thing the world needs, it is another streaming service. We are in
perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, just
I got $9.99. I'm looking to burn on something per month. Please, somebody, please give me a month free and then start charging me. Do you know what Binge is also adapting? Do you know what they also got? Driver.
wow.
Yeah.
Boy, they're picking the oldies.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love Driver. I don't know if I would love a Driver TV show.
It sounds like this Binge guy is like really familiar with System Shock, though. Right?
System Shock, I could dig into. Any System Shock fans?
But I'm
We're
saying
playing
like the
System
guy
Shock
that's
on the
like
I've
on their
only
side of
lightly
things.
dabbled in System Shock.
Does
2,
require
I
a
think.
budget, a big budget to realize it. Do you think this service will have that budget?
You could pull this off. You think of remember Cube? There's some horror films that like
Right.
the point of it is they intentionally have a very small budget, very like repetitive set.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot with lighting. They're doing a lot with forced perspective and stuff.
Was
You
not
could
expecting
you
Cube
could
to
potentially pull it off. It's like a Star Trek: The
Okay.
Next Generation just had a hallway, but like they made it work. Like what if we shoot it from the other direction? I think you can maybe
That's
do
what
that.
that's what Lower Decks was supposed to be, just a hallway.
Right.
Just a lower
I feel like
deck.
a lot of the best horror is super low budget.
Yeah. Just super low light. Just basically System Shock is obviously very alien. You're waking up on a ship and everything's going wrong, but like so many things are going wrong. The ship hates you. There's zombies roaming around screaming at you.
Yeah.
There's robots you got to fight. But just a very fun mood. And again, the shock in that is, carried over into the BioShock series, which made a lot more money, but an interesting dig. What do you think?
A lot more success.
The fact that it's
accessible
a
than-
series
Right.
is kind of crazy, right? Like it's not just a one-off movie.
Correct. It is produced by Alan Unger, who directed and co-wrote that Uncharted fan film. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. I was gonna
Had
say.
Nathan, actually had
Did
Nathan
I
Fillion.
see it?
Yeah, Nathan Fillion was
I didn't
jumping
see
around
it.
a house, beating people up. Night Dive Studios, Stephen Kick and Larry Cooperman will serve as executive producers. Is this like the best time ever to like option your properties for video game to try to get something made, or is it just like has the bubble already burst and nobody has seen it yet, or like it's out of control?
It hasn't burst yet.
No. I feel like we're finally hitting the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like within culture where video game adaptations, whether it be television shows or movies, are actually significantly breaking through, and it's like that break is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I think we've finally pierced it in a way that
Yeah.
we have struggled for a long time.
And then these streaming services are falling over each other trying to
Yeah.
bid on all
Yeah.
these properties. So I mean,
Absolutely.
yes, it's like, hey, System Shock, sure.
Yeah. Dude, there's going to be like some high budget Jelly Boy movie. That's
Yes.
So so Unger is the producer and chief content officer for Binge. So that's where he fits into all of this.
And you were saying a big System Shock fan?
Well, yeah, he
Somebody there must be.
Yeah, he seems to be familiar. But since he also did that Uncharted thing, it kind of makes sense.
But
well, they're also doing the System Shock remake, and so it is kind of like a point of revival for System Shock right now.
yeah. Not sure if I see that Driver revival happening, but a System
Right.
Shock revival would be sweet. DJ2 Entertainment is also a name that you might know. DJ2 Entertainment? Ring a bell?
No.
They work on Dance Dance Revolution.
They worked on Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, okay.
They made that Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Same series.
They're also working on Life is Strange.
Oh.
That series. And My Friend Pedro and Disco Elysium and Tomb Raider and Sleeping Dogs. And then they figured, that's not enough. We want more. They have struck up a deal with Raw Fury. They are bringing Shedworks' Sable, Monkey Moon, and Black Muffin's Night Call, which is a taxi game. You know Sable, right?
Yeah.
And Krillbite Studios' Mosaic to film and television.
Okay.
Apparently, they have their sights set on that, and they have a first look partnership with Out of the Blues' Call of the Sea, Long Hat House's Dandara, Lame Studios' The Signifier, and Geography of Robots' Norco.
I'm going to make a prediction.
It's a lot of weird stuff in there.
Yeah.
We are not that far away, like, I don't know, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, where there will be a streaming service that only streams video game adaptations, movies and TV shows.
Binge
That will
kinda
happen.
sounds
Remember
like
the
they're in
day.
that
Remember the
direction.
podcast episode.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Like it says, Binge is focused on making high-quality entertainment content for gamers. Like, it's crazy. It does say they'll be streaming for free, supposedly, when they launch. So,
Is that what we gamers want, that type
get ready
of
for some
entertainment?
ads.
Do we play video games to immediately then go to entertainment to experience more video game stories? Or do we want...
It can be valuable to have a different perspective on something that you love, right? And so, like, I'm not going to hold it up as a great piece of cinema or anything, but I had a good time at the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I had a good time at Detective Pikachu. Sometimes it's nice to just have fun with things that you either currently care about or have cared about, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
What about like an MCU world where there's literally a video game film in theaters every week? Like, just there's never not something in theaters right now that you could potentially go see.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Maybe. I mean, if Marvel and comics could be where they are now, like video games are like, I think historically have been in a much a place of probably more like prestige, I would say, potentially. Like, and they definitely, I think, achieve faster, like widespread, like cultural phenomena than comics. I mean, not to just comics have a long, rich history, and like not to like knock them at all. I just think video games got there a little bit faster, and so I would not be surprised that someday like one of the biggest movies of the year, I mean, that's kind of happened. Sonic was already kind of like that, and there's been a few like near things, but like not just like the biggest movie of the year, but like something that becomes a massive franchise.
Absolutely.
That like is a tentpole event is based on a video game.
Right.
That's gonna happen.
I mean, I kind of feel like, not to those heights, but I do feel like Resident Evil movies kind of hit that in a way. They're like
they were successful.
They were successful. They kept bringing them out. They didn't really have to have anything to do with the game releases.
Yeah.
It was its own snowball, basically.
That Mario movie is going to make all of the money. It really isn't that hard. If you want to be deeply cynical, it is not that hard to imagine this hypothetical future where the only thing in theaters are superhero movies and video game movies. You can picture it.
Yeah. Well, I can see you have something like Tomb Raider, where then you make a movie that kind of looks like the game that's coming out. And like, that makes sense to me. I even think like some stuffy Hollywood executive would be like, Lara Croft, that sounds familiar, But going in and picking up things like Call of the Sea and Dandara and The Signifier, like I wonder what is...
Yeah, what's happening?
I wonder what's happening. I wonder what like that one out of all of these properties, Raw Fury specifically too.
I just had a thought. So Squid Game, right? Blowing the fuck up, like breaking records. People are it's
GTA
crazy
5
huge.
mods with like the machine gun girl and everything.
I wonder if like people are sitting there twirling their mustaches and being like, what if we did like a live action Danganronpa to capitalize on Squid Game potential or something like that?
Sure.
Or if they're going to take these trends and see if they can like force a video game in that direction. I don't know.
I mean, GTA right there. I mean, there's your crazy blockbuster.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, which and that's I think Hauser. I don't know if it was Rockstar, but I believe Hauser specifically again and again was like, never. What's the point? I'm having way too much fun making games I don't want to do. He said that would be a waste of time for me to have to bother with some studio for me to have to like answer their questions and deal. No, I'm gonna go make my own thing. But he's out, so it'd be interesting to see if that's something that the Rockstar needs to win. They need to make some money at that company, I tell you. But yeah, it just, I feel bad because you said that binge is in their mission statement, and like I don't want the bubble to burst on these people and have them be like, oh,
I don't
no.
think the bubble is going to burst.
But at the same time, like the properties they're going after, just they're
Yeah.
really interesting. Sable, what interesting. Is that the perfect thing to be animated, or is that taking away from what the game is? I don't know. I wonder if like at film festivals, there's like disgruntled filmmakers just sitting around smoking and drinking. Just like, I don't know what to do. Like, make a game, I guess. I guess that's what you do now. You make a video game, and then they call you.
To be a filmmaker, do you not have to be disgruntled? Is that not a
Yes.
prerequisite?
Yes. That's true. But it's been a long time since I graduated from film school. I'm going to do my best to catch up with everything that has been happening. It used to be I could just talk about Google and Apple and Epic. That was it. I could just talk about these weird companies making stupid decisions, and then we'll see what happens with lawyers. Now the organizations are getting in trouble, and now companies are going after each other, but I digress. Let's start with Google. First, did anyone in this table know that this whole plot that Epic has been doing this entire time, where they completely knew that Apple and Google, that they were going to go against their policies and then we're going to sue them and start this entire case? This whole thing is called Project Liberty.
This sounds like something people with too much money and power would. That does not
This
surprise
is
me.
like.
It's like what it's
not even gonna
called.
Say it.
I never
reading-
heard those words put
For
together.
some reason, I'm
until
reading
today.
articles
What?
say I felt like I'm taking crazy pills. Where it's just everyone's like, well, blah, 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 Project Liberty. I'm like, Project what? I guess that's like what it's been called internally, or like that's what people call it now.
Yeah, that's
the
like
whole thing.
You're
the-
way too self-important at this
Yes,
point.
the-
Come
yeah,
on.
That's what it. Yes, it was way
throwing
too
the
self-
hammer, black and white banana commercial, the trailer that they released, all that stuff. Free
It's
Fortnite,
just, like,
it's all
extra
Project Liberty.
infuriating how much people are suffering in so many different ways in this current year, and they're like, "This is our
we go.
liberty
Here we
fight."
go.
It's like,
Yeah.
good God.
I'm getting 2 timestamps out of it on this week's podcast. Here we go. Well, Google's doing something Apple didn't do. Google's suing them. Google's countersuing. Filed on October 11th, Google is now using the Apple playbook against Epic. And I want to bring this up with you because you've worked on Minigame Champions. So you know that
That's rough.
the second person that goes always has an advantage. So Google is now going into this, following everything that Apple has done, learning from their mistakes. Quote, on August 13th, 2020, Epic breached the Google Play developer distribution agreement between Epic and Google, dated June 12th, 2020, by allowing Fortnite users who download the app through Google Play to use Epic's own payment processing tool instead of Google Play billing, which Epic knew they were going to do, but Google's calling them out for it. Google further says that Fortnite transactions processed through Epic's own payment processing tool, Google has paid nothing for its intellectual property or app distribution. This is so pointed. I love it. Not satisfied with those immense profits, it entered into a legal agreement, a DDA, they're called, with Google, to which it never intended to comply, deceiving Google and concealing its true intentions to provoke a legal and public relations confrontation that continues to this
They
day.
weren't that concealed, but okay.
Right. and they specifically say in quotes, Mr. Sweeney's vision of an oncoming metaverse. Google said it, not Sweeney. They put it in Sweeney's mouth. So they're specifically saying that little sneaky move that Epic did to start this entire thing. Google's like, we got you there. You signed something that said you weren't going to do that, knowing you were. And that's that. And they're asking for a jury trial. So it's gonna be really interesting if juries like. Because the judge said it too, when the judge was like, I see what you're doing, Epic. You might have a point, and yes, you might get some legal, this to go your way legally, just in this one case. But it is so obvious that you're only doing this for monetary gain. You're not, there's no liberty. Get out of here with your Project Liberty, certainly. And Tim Sweeney conceded in trial testimony that on August 5th, 2020, he emailed Microsoft to announce that, quote, Epic has certain plans for August. And later added that they would, quote, enjoy the upcoming fireworks show. And so, yeah, they're like, come on, this is not something where he's like, I'm looking out for all of these people, the other people that aren't developers at Epic to make more money. Google wants a trial by jury. It wants its right to remove Fortnite and terminate Epic's developer account under the terms the developer agreed confirmed. With regards to that agreement, Google wants Epic found liable for breach of contract as well as breach of good faith. And it wants the courts to declare Epic was unjustly enriched by its actions and give that money back to Google. And of course, quote, compensatory damages, punitive damages, attorney's fees, and interest. Does Google have a shot?
Yeah, it sounds like they just basically called out what they very publicly did. I don't know. Like I'm not a legal expert, but I don't know how they would fail on that. It just sounds like, yeah, this is what Epic did, and it breaches our contract, and so we want our money now.
But it's for the fight. Contracts be damned. I'm fighting the good fight here. For
Whoever
users,
wins, we lose.
Yeah, that's it. Like, this is just two big rich companies.
Transformers running around.
Who give, come on.
Yeah, it's hard to have any emotional investment in it.
Right.
It's just interesting. It's getting so convoluted, and now it's interesting bringing Google into it because you're like, okay, well, just whatever they figured out with Apple, that'll apply to the Google case, and we'll be done with it. And Google's like, no, we're gonna.
Well, I'm pretty sure
be much more aggressive
there are
about
still. Yeah, there's still the other lawsuit against Google going on somewhere. They're just. It's crazy. It's crazy to think how many lawyers have to be involved, and how many cases that are happening at any given time between among these three companies.
I wonder what U.S. companies are just always being sued, just all the time. You're beginning some case and you're ending
Right.
another case, and you're
gosh.
just like, well, this is what we do. The DFEH is a term that you might have heard. That is the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. That is, sorry?
Those Department of Fire Emblem heroes, but it's okay. I was hoping.
Not
That's right.
also.
We will defend the wife.
a very powerful
Project Liberty. I mean, this is more.
Project Liberty.
Codename new Fire Emblem game. Let's go. I'm just kidding.
Not doing a lot for game development in California, sadly, as much as maybe they could. But the DFEH is the people who originally knocked on Activision's door to start all of this. Thank you, Bloodworth. They're objecting to a proposed settlement between Activision Blizzard and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which I mentioned before, the EEOC. So this is what the DFEH were the first people that rang the bell and said, hey, Activision Blizzard's been screwy. We are calling them out. We're going to bring in legal action. And then just a couple weeks ago, they were like, oh, we settled with the EEOC. We were like, huh? And it was like, yeah, this was something else that was going on, but it's settled. The original people, the DFEH, are setting in and going, no, we don't like the settlement. It would involve employees releasing Activision Blizzard from claims under California state law, even though the EEOC has no standing to prosecute those violations. DFEH's pending enforcement action against Activision Blizzard will be harmed by uniformed waivers that the proposed decree makes conditional for victims to obtain relief. So these are two California institutions that are going after Activision Blizzard and are now going after each other.
Well, I think the EEOC is not California, but
It's not. Yeah, that is the government. Correct.
Public institutions of some sort. But yeah, it's well, and then you have the part two of this nonsense.
Oh, where the EEOC has accused the DFEH of an ethics violation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is bureaucratic hell.
I know.
What?
So apparently, the DFEH
I get it
lawyers.
now. No, I get it
Yeah.
now. But
I
this
can,
is
I can explain it to you again, Damian, if you
No,
really
I-
want
They
me
were
to.
originally
Got it?
working for the EEOC,
Yeah.
Right.
and now they're working on this case, and it's a whole crossing too many lines. It's just a giant mess. It's
You know-
just a giant mess.
You know who also doesn't want to be talking about this right now, Damiani? PC Gamer, who found a document filed last week by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC, that points out that two leading lawyers on the suit filed by the Department for Employment and Housing in California also previously worked for the EEOC and specifically investigated Activision Blizzard prior to the $18 million settlement made last week between the two parties to resolve charges of discrimination. If this is proven to be true, it is a conflict of interest, a violation of attorney ethics, and a breach of the California Rules of Professional Conduct, according to the filing.
This just sucks because it's taking attention away from the issue of
The actual
Activision.
issue. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
was this did Activision plan this type of shit to distract from the thing? It's like
Is this not just another case of it's rotten all the way through?
yeah, what the hell? I mean, it's multiple systems of corruption just coming to the surface at this point. It's everything's just screwed, man. But what? I don't know. This. I hope they get their acts together so that they can get back focused on going after Activision for Blizzard and any other things they uncover on there because this type of stuff just makes you think that like they're gonna get away with it. Like like in the end, like even with the settlement, like we'll have to even go back on that. There's something wrong with the settlement, so now the settlement's not even on the table anymore. There's nothing anymore.
Well, if you're wondering who to root for, again, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna buy the jerseys for you. But the EEOC is going after the DFEH for just hey, that guy worked for that guy. DFEH is saying that the thing that you got EEOC is not enough. They're like, we need to punish Activision more.
Well, the main thing that they're concerned about is
so not to pick sides, but
there's essentially part of the settlement is requires them to kind of change the records, and they're like, wait, you're going to be hiding evidence that we need for our case.
Correct.
And
because a lot of stuff's still going on.
Yeah, so it's a whole lot of craziness.
The complaints include the fact that Activision Blizzard workers were not consulted, the lack of promised documentation, the complete absence of the employee notice that the consent decree promises, the paltry $450 per person legal fund for potential claimants, the lack of clarity as to who will be handling settlement claims, the comparatively minuscule payment, $18 million, is pennies to Activision Blizzard, that is an official quote, the fact that EEOC claims Activision Blizzard is not being punished despite the company's obvious malfeasance, obviously punishable malpractice, and a lot of procedural complaints. So again, it's a lot of legalese, but it's like that's specifically what they're saying.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, it's like how much now we're getting into the nitty gritty of like, you know, how much, what is our pound of flesh? Like, how do we even this out? We didn't realize, or at least I didn't, that we're going to have to go through all of these government agencies first and have them yell at each other.
Yeah, it's like the movies when like the police show up and do something, and then the FBI shows up later and they're like, "We're taking over the investigation here." But,
I like in the movies when they can tell before
I
they
wish
get
it
out of
was
the
that
car.
simple.
They just see the cars driving up, and oh man,
it's like DFEH was like, "Oh no, it's the COC shit."
Guess we'll get back to Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
That's what they're playing in their cars. And they'll play Fire Emblem. My character's level 90. Back down.
Whoa.
They brought ranged units. Okay.
You play that new EA FC game?
All right. Also this week, Rockstar officially announced the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, how
we
was
knew
that
they were going to
trailer?
make this. Yeah,
The trailer was awesome, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that gameplay they showed. Woof.
It's funny how
stuff.
much less of an impact the official announcement had than the leak.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah,
That was my reaction. Is like,
Because their announcement
Wait.
was that it exists.
we didn't know this.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
so
but even when I saw the announcement, I was still questioning. Like, wait, they're like Definitive Edition. It's like, well, what does that mean? What are you? They didn't even say what it was. They just said, yeah, that thing, and we're doing that thing. It's
No,
like, well,
they
there were
elaborated
articles
on
saying
it.
it was some crazy remaster. And what do you?
They elaborated on it a little bit, but vaguely. They essentially said, we're updating it, but it's still the classic thing you love.
Right,
yeah,
that
it
doesn't-
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope there's a streamer mode in there for all the music.
For, the
Oh,
music.
For
yeah.
practical reasons, but
Yeah.
also I hope they have fun with it. Where they
Right.
put on some like really crazy library music just to like poke fun at the situation.
Final Fantasy XIV has surpassed 24 million players.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is
Well
the
deserved.
most profitable Final Fantasy game.
Well, accounts, I would guess, and that includes free trials.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, and WoW players were the same thing when they kept touting, you know, how many players they had over the years. You were like, well, yeah, people that forgot that they have WoW accounts, like,
Didn't Square say that like in the future they will spare no expense when it
Yep.
comes to 14?
Oh,
as
boy.
well? Yeah.
so.
I was there. for
Your game
this.
made it big.
I was literally there for this.
If you have a PlayStation Network ID, apparently you can apply for a chance to buy a PlayStation 5 from Sony.
That's cool.
Only took
they've
a
been
year or so. How long
doing they've been doing stuff like this throughout the year. I haven't kept up on the process, but yeah, they've been doing like weird little cues and stuff like that.
I think this is a more permanent
the PS
thing.
Direct things or something different.
I
Like
don't
the
know
one where Wario
specifics.
tweets out like the
yeah.
you get the invite.
So
you
is
can
this
go do
this is different
I don't
somehow?
know. Like, is this? I thought this was like you just on your PlayStation just hit a button. I'm interested in a
Yeah.
PS4. Like, I'd like a PS5. We'll notify you at some point.
It seems to be not just like a thing where, you know, some special event we're doing right now, but this is kind of like, will be Sony's process moving forward, which there is no perfect way to get a PlayStation 5. You can now buy experience boosters in Avengers, which they said we were not going to do. And they coincided that perfectly with their big Game Pass rush being on Xbox now. And so,
Yeah.
Boy, Avengers seems to be a series of good decisions.
yeah, just good decisions made at good times. Toshihiro Nagoshi announced his departure from Sega, which was rumored, but is now official.
Yeah,
Damn.
it's pretty nuts. I mean, obviously the series is in good hands, regardless, but he's been there a long time.
Yeah.
Been there a very, very long time.
Essential figure.
I don't think, because the message we saw was from the studio. He wasn't the only one. I forget the name of the other guy.
Correct.
Another one of the leaders. But as far as I know, have they confirmed what they're doing? And they just said, we're going off to... We heard the rumors about them getting headhunted.
Daisuke Sato
Yeah,
is leaving the studio as well.
but I don't know if they've confirmed what they're actually doing.
I have not seen any specifics yet worth reporting.
I mean,
on
that's
my
pretty
end.
common, though.
It was
where there
NetEase,
is-
right? That was who was
There is a space
headhunting.
between a departure and an announcement of a
Right.
new thing. So
MOBA Network bought Reset Era for $4.5 million. Didn't know that's what Reset Era was worth. Don't know what MOBA Network's going to do with it. We will see. Riot Games disabled League of Legends all chat.
Yeah.
Gone.
Get rid of toxic chat.
Right. Yeah. Cheaters and toxic gamers. Solutions we are looking for, and that's we'll see if that works for Riot Games. IO Interactive. Sorry.
it's just so sad when truly the only effective way of combating this stuff is just getting rid of it. Like,
just everybody be quiet.
You won't stop, so you can't talk.
Yeah.
Like
IO Interactive made $78 million in their last fiscal year, 136% increase in the previous year. Good for them. Curious how much they're going to be able to spend on how much of that is going to go into Bond and how much they're going to be able to.
They
move
said
along.
it was a record for them, right? Though, like it's not just that they were better than last year, which we would expect with a new release, but they're actually in a really good spot.
Interesting company to watch next couple of years. Might not hear from them for a while. The last Suikoden game has apparently received a full translation, which I was extremely happy about. Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak will not have cross-save or cross-play.
yeah, it's bullshit.
I mean, I don't know.
It is.
I don't code these things. So
Yeah.
I don't know how hard it is. I don't know. But they really were just like, yeah, we looked into it, but no.
It was a meager explanation, to say
Yeah.
the least.
Because it was just a tweet, right?
Yeah.
They haven't
They're
even
just like,
been elaborating on that.
We hear you guys, but not this time.
Annapurna and Heart Machine Solar Ash, which we just talked about in our Q4 preview, was delayed to December 2nd.
Yeah.
That was your pick, so.
Yeah,
You busy
but not
December
that
2nd?
Far
How's it
off.
look?
So it's still in Q4, so
Yeah.
it still qualifies.
Still applies. Fallout 3 GOTY Edition no longer installs Game for Windows Live dependencies. Which, wow, yeah, that was a history lesson. I went back and read up on that as somebody who just does not have a live experience with Fallout. I did not know. I did not know. I knew about Games for Windows Live. I remember all of that. I did not know Fallout 3 was
had-
kind of
Such a horror.
in the
I
eye
had
of that
the
storm.
physical version of Fallout 3 on PC that had games for Windows Live. Yeah.
MiHoYo attempted a crossover event with Elon Musk for Genshin Impact, and the fans were like, no.
no.
They had some weird, social media name takeover where, the name of their account was taken over, and they were like, if we get this many likes or follows or something, we'll change the name back. And there's a gal named Ella Musk in the game
Oh no.
that is also into tech and stuff. And they were like, hey, it's his long and fans were like, don't say it. No. And they were like, yeah, they're kind of related, and maybe she can help Elon Musk. It was
Did you ever-
they just threw all of it in the trash. They were like, just forget we brought up
Okay,
any of that.
someone finally made a smart call.
Yeah.
Do you ever just hear kind of irrelevant, dumb stories that make you generally depressed about the state of the world?
Every week.
Yeah. I hope someone options this for a movie.
Speaking of trying something and maybe thinking about doing it later, Ghost Recon Frontline's planned closed beta is being pushed back. And no reasoning. They were just like, yeah, that thing we were gonna do that everyone hates. We're not gonna do that now. Maybe we'll bring it back later when all of you have calmed down.
I just had space. I was just on Twitch and I'm like, oh, the Ghost Recon event is happening. I'll tune in. And I was there when they announced it, and it was just like, really? Come on, man.
Epic Games acknowledged their imposter mode was inspired by Among Us.
Oh, really?
And that has gone and gone even further that they're now teasing maybe they're going to collaborate on something.
Yeah.
Which that does make me happy. That I hope that was the Among Us team. I hope they called. They were like, hey, got on the phone. It's clear what needs to happen. Barry Mode's world record speedrun of Spelunky that held for 8 years apparently is illegitimate. They confessed. And a remake of Joe and Mac was announced, 2022. Joe and Mac. The Cavemen return.
Mm-hmm. Was their last game back then? Have they had anything in the time since?
There is a sequel for sure, but yeah, I don't know that there's been anything.
Joe and Mac's going to become a big movie.
Either that or just caveman platformers I want to take off.
Yeah. Joe and Mac's going to be a big one.
Cool.
Calling it now.
Let's play a game. I know there's less impact when the lights don't go. The music's playing and I'm digging it. The classiest hobo gave us this one.
Is this Love and Respect?
It used to be in Love and Respect. We just play games on our own now.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. I'm not caught up.
Love and Respect is for serious discussions.
Okay. All right.
We're playing a game now.
Okay.
Name that Mario Party minigame challenge part 2.
I'm not gonna.
Not again.
You used one. You remember it, do
Yeah,
you?
we did the first one.
We used part 1 of this game way back when Super Mario Party came out in October of 2018. Remember 2018?
Nope.
In honor of the upcoming Mario Party Superstars, I created a bunch of new questions. I took one mini game from each mainline Mario Party and created a quiz. I provided a description of the game and 3 options, so it's multiple choice.
Okay, that
for what
is
each game is named.
necessary. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. From the first Mario Party, 4 players work together to keep a key away from the Koopas.
Yes.
One player holds the key and the other player runs defense. Is it A, hide the key, B, key party, or C, keep away?
Oh,
Keep away.
keep away. Yeah, that's
First,
my answer.
I'll go with the first one.
Keep away. So you're wrong.
Eh?
For Mario Party 2, can you still look at my laptop?
What?
Yeah.
I got it wrong.
For Mario
Yeah. Kind of immediately disproves that.
Well, that's why you're looking at my laptop. For Mario Party 2, players wear barrels and attempt to sneak past a chain chomp, moving only when he is sleeping and hiding in the barrels when awake. Is this A, sneak and snore, B, barrel-ly there, or C, wake the chain?
I'll go with the
I'm gonna go with A.
first one.
Yep.
It is A. Good names, though. Classic. They don't pick your name, Classic of Hobo. Don't feel bad. For Mario Party 3, teams of 2 compete to eat their halves of a pizza faster than the other team. Is it
I
A,
want a pizza.
devour, B, for pizza's sake, or C, eats a pizza?
2.
B. Yeah.
B.
Eats a pizza!
Come
Oh
on,
my
Nintendo.
gosh.
Stop being too obvious.
For Mario Party 4, players are on a frozen pond and must avoid snowballs thrown by snowmen. Last player standing
We played
wins.
this.
Is this A, snowball standoff, B, Mr. Blizzard's brigade, or C, ice pond pummel?
Shit.
C.
A?
Hey.
You're all wrong. Mr. Blizzard's brigade.
Oh.
Wow.
Don't know the name, but we've definitely played it. It was fun.
For Mario Party 5, teams of 2 jump alternatively on platforms and operate can openers. The first team to open their can wins. Is this A, can-do spirit, B, Mario can, or C, canned goods?
Canned goods?
B.
A.
Damiani got it. Mario can.
Wow.
I'm going with, now I'm going by Nintendo logic.
Saucy.
We got a lot more. Mario Party 6, players ride snowboards and attempt to complete their most midair spins by hitting buttons in a specific order. A, Snow World, B, Slick Tricks, or C, Slide and Spin?
B.
B.
B or C? B.
A, Snow World.
No.
World as in a
World?
whirl. You're
Oh
whirling
my
around.
God.
Whirl. I thought it was World.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Wait.
Does that change things?
Explain that.
Changes
Yeah.
things.
Okay.
The whole
All right.
thing is rigged.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll spell these for you.
Okay.
From Mario Party 7, pink boos land on numbers displayed on
Pink
screen.
booze? What are you drinking, Jones? What's in that cup?
Pink booze.
You got pink booze?
We got pink booze. They land on numbers displayed on screen. Mathematician water. Players must speak into the mic saying the number. Is this A, Calcu Creeper, B, Spooky Speech, or C, Mathemortician?
B.
Mathemortician.
What was A again?
Calcu Creeper.
I'll go with A.
A?
Mathemortician. C.
Dang.
I don't know.
I'm loving this. For Mario Party 8, players avoid lava balls that multiply and move around a platform. The last player standing wins.
Dude, this one was hard.
This is A, Firewalkers, B, Lava or Leave 'em, or C, Fever.
B.
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 I also think B.
Lava or Leave 'em, yes. Correct. For Mario Party 9, player must grab vines and shake the Wiimote to pluck vegetables from the ground. The player who picks the most wins. Is this A, Divine Duel? That's D-E, vine, like a vine, like that grows. Ben, just make sure divine, not
Spell
like...
it.
B, Vegetable? Or C, Tuber Tug?
B.
A.
I'm gonna A.
It's Tuber Tug, although Vegetable is clearly the best.
Wow.
Vegetable.
Wow.
I thought tuber would be too weird, but I guess not.
Yeah.
I thought that too.
For Mario Party 10, players must shoot at piranha plants as they come out of pipes, scoring points based on the color. Is this A, Pipe Sniper, B, Piranha Points, or C, Pipe Plant Pop?
A.
C.
Pipe Sniper, yeah.
Ah.
That's a good name. From Super
is a good
Mario
name.
Party, players grab pancakes from a plate. Regular pancakes are worth 1 point. Pancakes with stars are worth 3 points.
I remember this.
Yep.
Is this A, like hotcakes, B, can take pancake, or C, flapjack frenzy?
Flapjack
I think
frenzy.
it's C. Yeah, I think it's C.
B.
Can take pancake.
No.
I thought for sure that one was C.
Yeah, we played it recently. We forgot it.
I mean, all of these could be wrong. This could be a
I don't
gigantic
remember
troll. We'll
minigame.
find out next week.
Bowser's Big Blast. That's the only one I know. Where's Bowser's Big Blast?
They know. From Mario Party Superstars, originally from Mario Party 3, a 1 versus 3 game. 3 players ground pound palm trees to try to knock coconuts onto a single player below. Is this coconut A, coconut conk, B, beach bruise, or C, palm tree pummel?
Palm tree pummel.
A.
Panel.
Coconut conk. A. I don't know who won that one. Oof.
We all lost.
Yeah. Just like the Apple case. All right. It is now time for love and respect.
Spell it, please.
Love and respect.
Nice. From JG. First, I'd like to congratulate Ben on his excellent Metroid Dread review. You guys are truly the best in the biz. This leads to my question. I beat Metroid Dread yesterday, and I loved it. I'm pretty certain this is my favorite Metroid, and I saw others agreeing with this sentiment. But for some reason, calling something that just came out one of the greatest games ever made feels weird. Even though many like it more than the legendary game Super Metroid, how come the passage of time has such an effect on our perception of games? Do you feel like a game should be a bit older before it can be said with certainty that it is among the best ever?
This is a really good question because I actually went through the same thing with Metroid Dread where I was at a point where I was like, I think this might be my favorite Metroid game, and I feel weird for saying that. And yeah, I love this question because I just went through the sensation, and I think there's two things. The first is the honeymoon phase where, like, I think when you spend time or money on something, like you naturally want to like it, right?
Yeah.
Like you could be spending that time or money on anything, but you're choosing to spend it on this thing. And so I think there's that natural inclination to have it. But I also think with the passage of time, right, especially if you're very invested in the medium like we are, you get opposing arguments. You get perspectives that maybe you hadn't thought of as you were going through it that kind of test or reaffirm what you already feel. And so I think when you maybe don't have that pushback as you're personally going through it, maybe it leaves more room for doubt.
I think time helps. It's good to not, write a review script in one pass. It's good to just kind of like get up from the chair and walk away and just like come back and like reorganize your thoughts. But yeah, this is like the Michael Huber Hall of Greats approach. He brought God of War one time, the new God of War, and I was like, oh, it's just not getting in because of this. Because this, like, it probably very much so should be in the Hall of Greats, but it just happened.
Right.
It's tough.
Yeah, I think there is that sense of things sometimes being a little too fresh. Yeah, and it's like you want to see, just like, does it feel as memorable, in a couple of years' time, or do you kind of go back? And it's hard because it's like you've also had like this sort of sense of like, well, I've known this other game for 15, 20 years. So you like just the weight of that, and then comparing something new, and it's like, yes, there are improvements, but then there are other things that it doesn't quite do that I like as much. So I think it just takes time to sort of sort that all out in your head. And a lot of these things work both ways, right? Like, you played this game 15 times, but you just played this game once. Mm-hmm. So what happens after you play it, 5 more times? Do you still feel as strongly about it? Do you still, do you start to see the holes in it? So it's just I think it's just a lot of different things.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both the points pretty much. I just think it's like I think it's fine to say initially that you think it's like one of the greatest games ever made. It's just, and I don't think you should discount newer games either. I mean, I think for me it was pretty evident that like a game like Breath of the Wild, it's like as soon as I finished this, I was like, yeah, this game is just gonna be like, like it's like it doesn't matter how much time I need to pass, like it's gonna be like it's very clear. I think though, the thing is like giving like I think it's just how we function as human beings. It's like it just takes time. It takes time to, as Bloodworth said, to process your thoughts, but also like it takes time to like you can't. If you replay a game like 10 times in the span of a week or whatever, like that still doesn't answer the question, does this hold up in a year for you? Like, or are these other games, so much time has passed, you've played them so many times, you still enjoy it. But that also just goes to like speak to like personal enjoyment factor. I think it's a lot harder to codify for some people, like a game based on like basing it more on its actual merits. Well, I mean, holding up is definitely important. I do value like holding up, but I also think like what it did in its moment, like how important it was its did, because there's two types of like excellent games to me. There are games that still withstand the classics, the evergreens that will like be like timeless forever, and that exists in every medium. Then there are the ones you could point to like in its time there was nothing else like that. That was amazing. It's since been way eclipsed, and it might not hold up as well because of modern advancements.
GoldenEye.
But that game, like you had like, but those are you had to have been there.
Yeah.
And those are harder to codify for people other than you had to have been there. Like I can't share my emotions with you.
Right. I
can try and put them into words and like try and convince you with that. And some people do that very very well. But at the same time, I think no amount of like words will like truly impart upon that person like what it meant to play that game, how good it was in that moment of time. And that like that's like I do value that a lot, and like that's always the harder thing to like reconcile with like the timelessness of like this game, like Super Mario or whatever is like this is great forever. How do you justify GoldenEye being good for like a few years? It's like, well, I mean, they both can exist.
To elaborate on Damiani's point, I think Breath of the Wild is such a good thing to bring up, because I think the reason why it's like maybe easier to immediately accept Breath of the Wild as such an achievement is because it is such a reinvention of the series in the way that Metroid Dread is not. And I don't say that as an insult, but it's like Metroid Dread is very much elaborating on a very well-established template that this series has not only done over and over again, but so many other games are Metroidvania. What I mean to say is that they're taking inspiration from Metroid, and so with Metroid Dread, it's like there's so much to compare it to immediately.
Right.
And I think that because there are all of those points of comparison, I think it makes you more reluctant to be like, this is the best. Where it's like, well, is it the best because I have to like go through and compare it to every single one of those.
Yeah, because I think there's, to me, like a lot of times, even when we have these Hall of Greats conversations, it's like there's sort of like this apex point of series to where it's like it's maybe not the first one to do it,
Right.
but it's the one where it's like, okay, we had the basic idea and now we're gonna nail it, and then it feels like everything that comes out after that is just sort of like the time that we nailed it. Let's call back to that again.
Yeah.
Metroid, yeah.
From Jason Wojnar, to you, what is worse for a video game's review score? A reviewer rushing to and having little time to play and write a review, or being given enough time to play and write a review at their leisure? Is it better to write the review coming hot off the credits, or is it better to maybe do a second playthrough and have a few days to write the review afterward? Can any of you think of games where you seriously rethought the review score after the video review was already published?
Oh my God.
Technically, two questions. I think, and I actually remember this from like a month or two ago. It's just like bringing up a review here or there. Maybe it was a Q&A. We're like, yeah, there was that one thing I wish I would have scored here or there. But specifically, like, I mean, you chuckled. Do we just not have that much time ever?
Yeah, no,
for a second playthrough.
No, I like, and this, it's shaped by audience expectation. Like, I could pick limitless examples where every single time a game comes out, we have a good number of people being like, where's your review? Where's your review? Where's it coming? Where's it coming? People want reviews quickly, and in a way that makes sense. I'm not faulting them for that, but like, no, we don't have the space, nor is there the expectation that it's like, yeah, let me replay it 2 or 3 or 4 more times. Let me do every character class in the game. Let me try every single weapon.
That can make a huge difference. Some games, it's just like what you see in a single playthrough is just like a slice, because of so many different dialogue options or character builds or just different things that you could do.
So our approach is certainly inherently flawed, and then you get the response back where they're like, well, why don't you just do that? I would really like that. And it's like, well, a lot of people wouldn't. Like, if we do that approach, like, people, I think sometimes what's frustrating is people want everything with no concessions, and it's like nothing works that way. And it's like, yes, we could attempt to do reviews that way, but then you have to be okay with the fact that you're getting way less reviews, like way less.
Right.
So
I think too, just kind of the way the question is worded is like it's two very extremes, right? So, is it worse to rush, or is it, or should you, spend this extra time on it and play it more and more? And it's like I feel like there's a lot of examples of rushing.
Sure.
Like it's rampant throughout this industry, and a lot of people that don't even necessarily have a choice in the matter in a lot of ways, to where they're in these like pressure cooker deadline situations, and whoever's paying their bills, like, no, you need to have this on this desk at this point in time. It does not matter. I've been in situations like that in the past. It's like I've gotten that. He's like, I need a script by the end of the day, and I'm like, I'm not halfway through that game yet, so okay. And you just kind of do what you can do, and so that's bad. And the amount of time that sometimes people have to squeeze through in order to make embargoes that don't make any sense. When you get a game the week of or 3 days
wasn't
before
the No More
or
Heroes
something.
3 embargo after the game came out? Or something like that?
There was something like that where it was a few hours later, and then they walked it back to like when the game actually releases. But I'm saying more in terms of like the amount of time that somebody has to crunch through a game, right? And that amount, to some degree, is going to happen with most games anyways, to where like you need to put in a lot of hours in a relatively short amount of time. But I do think there's a lot of people that are even more constrained to that, to where like they don't have any choice but to go crazy because of who they work for. And with, at least with us, it's like sometimes it's like, hey, we understand, like, if it's going to take a little bit longer, then we'll eat whatever views that eats, because that's just better for your health, and there's a lot of other things going on. And so, and there will be times, where, the supposed window has passed, but we're still like, we put work into it. We can still finish a review, like Biomutant. When you did Biomutant, that was like, a month later?
Yeah.
Still did a fair amount of views. It would have done more, sure, but it was still worthwhile. And so, like, it's not exactly like you rush through it or you're just hot off of it. You had a lot of time to think about that game in that amount of time.
Biomutant was an interesting case because I was measuring my interest. I was measuring that review score by how much I wanted to cram that game into the tiny amount of time I had to work on it. Because I'm sure there would be other games that I would be like, man, I don't have time to do this, but it's 1 a.m. and Amanda's asleep and I want to play more than 1 hour. Like, Biomutant was not that game. I was like, I'm happy to go to bed and work on Biomutant tomorrow.
Right.
So like sometimes these restraints you get put in like really do, kind of educate you in terms of like how important that game really is, or maybe if you were more interested in another game or something similar in the genre.
Right. Well, this year with East 9, like I don't think I was even planning to review that game at first. I think you were going to review it originally.
I was going to review it, but then I think I was just doing another review at that time.
Yeah, something else happened. I had started to play the game for whatever other reason, and it's like, well, I'm still playing this game, so I guess I'll review it.
And those kind of conversations happen with us very regularly, where it's like, you have more of an opportunity to do this thing right now than I do, where it's like, because you were working on a Forza preview, and it was like, because we were kind of talking like, who's going to review Metroid, and we didn't really know, and then Bob was like, you have more of an opportunity to do this, go ahead and do it, and we I think people forget, or like get mad at us, but like we really are a small team. We don't have that many resources.
You and I juggled Dragon Quest Builders 1. I remember that.
Yeah,
You started it, and then I picked
you
up
had
later,
more of
and
an
that was fun.
opportunity to go after it, and so we have to make those kind of calls all the time.
And you have something like Riders Republic, which I'm going to make some time to review at the end of this month. And there's no credits. There's no clear, like, well, I'm done. You know, it's like that game, you play
you're
game
working on
forever.
Back for Blood right now, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
but that
he's
kind of
done
does
what
have
he
a...
feels like he's got his head in that
that is a
space,
little
yeah.
more of... You can literally see dots on the bottom that's like, you've done these chapters. You're almost finished. But, sometimes it's why I can't imagine, like, reviewing a Battlefield or a Call of Duty. I think I've reviewed one Call of Duty. But it's, like, got to be kind of stressful because you have these modes. You're just like, I could play this for months, you know, but I got to stop at some point. And I think that's the big thing for me. I've done reviews for like 15 years is just that like you just get like an impression. Like a game just hits you and it makes you feel a certain way. And like even, you know, regardless of what you do in the time that you have or the script that you write, like you're still calling back to that initial emotion.
Yeah.
So like writing something quickly, I think a good example would be like if a game doesn't have a lot of content. If you like finish a campaign and you're like, all right, time for the extra modes. There's no extra modes. It's like it's good to kind of like funnel that frustration because you'll forget how you feel in this moment or when a crash happens or when, you know, you're cut off from content. It's like it's good to make a note, good to capture that frustration.
I also think we consider like different things on who would be better or worse at getting through something, where it's like I think it makes sense for me to review Monster Hunter just because I've spent so much more time with it that like I'm going to be able to get through that game more quickly than if somebody else did it. Not that their perspective wouldn't be valuable. I'm not trying to discredit them, but it makes sense in that instance where it's just like this is going to take less resources on the team overall because of that experience.
I think my Miles Morales review was like 3 days.
Yeah, right.
Like
right.
gameplay, writing, VO, cut.
Oh, yeah, and that's when we couldn't move the consoles, so you had to come in here.
All the gameplay you
binge it.
saw in my Miles review was me walking in the door and walking out with a card. Good stuff. Joshua Harwood, a.k.a. Irish Rock, 1987. As a father of two and full-time worker, I don't have much time for video games. I used to play these epic JRPGs, Xenogears, Final Fantasy, etc., but I just can't dedicate time to exploring these games that I used to. However, I'm still able to play thanks to something that I think needs a special shout-out. Spoiler-free walkthroughs. I've been using a spoiler-free walkthrough for Persona 5 Royal, and it has been absolutely delightful. My question for the panel is this. Is there any section of the community that you feel goes underappreciated or even just... goes unappreciated or even just underappreciated? For me, it's definitely the people who dedicate their time to making these absolutely wonderful guides so that people like me can still enjoy these epic JRPGs.
Oh, I mean, that's the perfect example, right? I mean, that's what's propping up a lot of the big publications and has since the 80s, honestly. Like, that's why people will go to buy a magazine or will go to a site. It's because they're looking up those guides. And everyone else is benefiting, you know?
And people who do like the wikis for like bigger games, especially like the live games as a service, who are like constantly updating with all the content updates to keep the community. Where when a company won't do it themselves, it's like the community takes the torch and does it for them. It's like just like it's like a full-time job. I have to imagine doing stuff like that, and it's like the amount of volume you have to go through. It's like what the heck.
You know what I was not thinking about this, but Damiani, you just made me realize, like, some of these games are so convoluted in terms of lore, and, like, sometimes I go to a wiki just where it's like, please help me parse this. And, like, good wiki writers are able to do that, where they're able to break it down in a way that you can digest. We had a question like this, like, maybe a couple of years ago, and my answer was UI designers, I feel like, do not get... hardly any credit at all, and they make such an impact on how enjoyable your game is, where they specifically choose where to present information, how they present it, and all that stuff. It gets completely underappreciated, but it's huge. There's another one, though, that I think maybe sounds obvious, but people really don't understand, is streamers. And it really pisses me off how often people go, like, they're like... There's this mentality out there where they're like, because your job is playing games all day, that you don't deserve my respect or it's okay for me to ridicule you. Those are people that haven't tried to seriously stream. It is super hard. It is genuinely a skill to be able to do something for hours on end and be entertaining that whole time.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason only a small fraction of streamers are able to make a living out of it, is because they have developed that skill and really honed that in a way that, and I'm not trying to sit here and say like they're the most important thing in the world or it's like the most essential job, but I think it certainly takes more than a lot of people are willing to give it credit for.
We will do like big marathon streams for like charities or events. And like that's like a day for a streamer. Like us doing like 8 hours.
Right.
Woof.
Yeah.
Time to take a nap, and that's like Tuesday.
Right.
I definitely shout out to anybody who has put together, an Excel sheet or whatever, talking to me about, Valheim ingredients, MMO ingredients,
Right.
Minecraft ingredients. Thank you so much. So many things. Where to get them? Thank you. Farming guides. Farming guides are a grinder's best friend. Thank you so much.
Man, Jones, you just made me think of like people who figure out the meta in any given game. Because like everybody like goes online and they're like, what is the best build in X? And like they just take it and use it and run with it, but they don't really like give credit to the people that like tested that stuff out and like were able to reliably say like, okay, this is the absolute best combination of stuff that you can have in this game. Yeah.
From Level Capybara, without getting too specific, I think it's cool that Metroid Dread makes use of every button on the Switch so that it's so that every ability is easily accessible. But there's one button I dread having to deal with above all the others. L3. Oh, R3 you don't like. Oh.
Or whatever it is.
The one where you have to
Clicking,
press the
yeah.
left joystick down until it clicks.
Yeah.
It's never felt intuitive to me, and I can't help but wonder if it'll contribute to the infamous Joy-Con drift I've been trying to stave off. It seems funny to feel so adversarial toward a button on a controller, but now I'm curious, what, if any, are your least favorite controller buttons?
The GameCube Z button is terrible.
Oh, sure. But
Is that just the one little shoulder?
yeah, the little.
Yeah, that C button's not great. That C
The
button.
C-stick?
The C
I'm
stick's
okay
like
with.
either too big or too small. I remember playing my first-person shooter on the GameCube, and I was like, "Oh, that's the right analog." No, we're not doing this.
But I definitely share their lack of affinity for clicking in the stick, like in any situation. It never feels good to me. It always feels like you do it accidentally or it gets in the way.
The accidental
or,
thing is the biggest thing. Like, I
what's
can't
so
tell you how
funny?
many games. Yeah.
It is so funny that you guys are saying that, and I totally understand that perspective, but it also, I think, exemplifies that, like, I don't think you guys really play a lot of first-person shooters. Because if you did play a lot of first-person shooters, it's just like the click in the stick to run is so default that,
Right.
like...
Right. No, I know exactly.
Well, it's
Yeah.
got to be
Yeah.
taxing. It's the most strenuous, strenuous. It's like activity you can do typically with a controller, other than like holding something or pressing something extremely fast. So it's like like I remember the ping in Tomb Raider games was that, or there was some game, some third-person action game had that ping, and so like you'd walk to a new area and like click.
But
click,
see,
click.
the running is exactly the kind of thing that I hate, because it's like, it's one thing for like clicking in the right stick for like a zoom or something like that, but it's like when you're moving the stick and having to click the stick,
Right.
then it doesn't feel good to me, and it's
I get it. I totally do.
and it screws with precision. Yeah.
Mine's just like, again, accidental. Like your thing, Final Fantasy 14, it defaults to when L3 or R3 is like zoom on a controller, zoom in. Can't tell you like I'm like just running around or in an intense fight and I'm moving and doing my stuff because I'm dual analoging. And I actually hit it. It goes to the first one, like, shit, what the hell? Like I can't see anything. Like, running to me seems like less offensive because like, oh, I sprinted a few seconds, whoop-de-doo. But like the pressure stuff on some of those I don't think is very good. Like I think it's too easy to actually do it. I did notice on Dread, like my new Switch OLED, the white the new Joy-Con, the left analog is starting to make weird noises now. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I was like, no, my other Joy-Cons make this noise. Why is it making this weird clicking noise whenever I just like tap it now? I'm like, okay, great. Because of they mentioned their fear of like Joy-Con drift. I was like, well, maybe.
I actually probably have one that's going to piss a lot of people off. Because I love mouse and keyboard controls, but control always feels bad to me, and it is generally the default for crouch in a lot of games.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like every single time, if I can, I will switch that to C because it's just a much more natural movement for me. I hate when control is crouch by default.
Well, clicking on a mouse wheel too is.
I do.
Depends,
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, clicking the mouse wheel. Yeah.
I
do love the scroll
though.
Scroll for camera is great. Love that.
It's funny. When I picked what auto run was going to be for New World, I looked at that keyboard for a long time, because everything around WASD, it's all taken. New World's nah,
That's your real estate.
And I'm really curious to see the lifespan of the PlayStation logo button on the PlayStation 5 DualSense. The power button, the thing in the middle you press that's shaped like PlayStation logo. Such a weird button.
I feel
I'm
like
curious they're going to ditch that at some point. Or
I've been multiple times on the Switch Pro Controller where I've meant to hit plus, but I've hit the screenshot capture button.
Oh, right.
And so I had bad, awkward screenshots.
Yeah. A whole collection.
Oh,
of
yeah.
Well, the other thing about that, the PlayStation, the home button or whatever, I was playing with a friend a couple weeks ago, and the positioning of it and the size of his fingers, he kept hitting it. While we were racing in Hot Wheels, he would just keep hitting it, and he's apologizing. He's like, "Well, it's kind of not your fault, This controller's got in a weird spot between those thumbsticks."
From Craig Belmont. If Easy Allies were a deli shop and I walked in and ordered a Jones, a Bloodworth, a Ben, or a Damiani, what kind of sandwich am I getting?
You're getting a tuna sandwich with me.
Nice.
I mean, that's be stereotypical, but I like Italian subs, so you get in a classic Italian.
Yeah, and I haven't been to Subway for a little bit.
Don't go back to Subway. Don't go to Subway, Blood. Don't do that to yourself. Treat yourself better.
They don't have any super hot game promotions going on right now?
Treat yourself better, Blood.
All right.
But yeah, I would probably have some kind of turkey with maybe brown mustard and lettuce, tomato, and some olives.
If you're going turkey, I'll do the ham and Swiss then.
Yeah?
Ham and Swiss. Lots of lettuce. Tomato, mayo, mustard. Now I'm hungry.
Me too. I'm actually very hungry.
Well, it's time for bets.
Yeah.
Next week's bet.
I in my head, I choose to believe that it wasn't time for bets, and you're like, no, it's time to eat.
Oh, it's time for bets.
It's time for bets.
I was sort of expecting that to come out of his mouth too. And I was like, oh no, it's bets.
The Dark Pictures anthology House of Ashes launches on October 22nd, the day we record next week's episode. We will be streaming that. We are excited. At that time, when we record the episode next Thursday, the day it launches, how many people will be watching Twitch's #1 stream? So not how many people are watching the game. I'm going to go to the most viewed stream on Twitch. How many people are watching that one? Michael Damiani.
250.
250. Woo! Okay. Woo! Is that a lot?
No.
That's not a lot. 6K
6K.
says Ben. 6,000. Daniel Bloodworth says.
5,106.
It's an interesting number. That's very Price is Right. 800. So just be right above Damiani. I go. Okay.
Got the high.
Okay. No Isla this week, so we got more of a shot next week. The percentage is up. It's in our favor. Last week, I don't know. I'm going to check in a second. Back for Blood launched 2 days ago. I wanted to know when we were recording this episode, how many viewers in total would the game have on Twitch. For reference, Dead by Daylight had 22K when I checked that afternoon.
Dude, Dead by Daylight is a Twitch champion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's tough to, maybe not the best thing to judge your
Also, the game
performance
is sick.
on. Curious where Dead by Daylight's at right now. Michael Huber bet 34,000. Michael Damiani bet 85,000. Isla Hink bet 62,000. Blood and I were a little on the lower on the scale. Blood bet 30,700, and I bet 26,000. Right now, Back for Blood has refresh.
Can't be that high.
31,000 people watching on Twitch. Wow. This number jumped all over the place. I got to the studio
it's all
very
around.
early today, and 120,000 people were watching.
Yeah.
I checked right before we recorded the podcast. It was 60-something. Right now, at 9:14 p.m.
all
on
about big
Thursday evening,
streamers.
it is 31,000,
Yeah.
which is somewhat close between Huber and Bloodworth, but Blood's got the 30. Almost right on the nose, baby, for the win. Nice. Bringing our scores, too. Jovial Penguins, 26.
No quote today.
That's a quote in and of itself. Vociferous Beavers, 19.
Nom, 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 nom.
March back. Did get some comments where people were like, if you do the math, you technically have 2 more weeks before you should just give up. And I'm like, never tell me the odds. We're still in it, baby. Let me tell you about patreon.com/easyallies. You might not know what that is if you just listen to the podcast here. Patreon is how we are primarily funded. And for just $5, you can get this podcast 2 days early, along with obviously supporting the group. We do shows, podcasts, streams, reviews, previews, impressions, and reactions to games. We'd very much like to continue doing that as long as we possibly can. There's lots of different ways you can support us. Obviously, viewership helps, and we have sponsors, but we are primarily funded through Patreon. So if you go check that out, you can see all of your benefits that you can get from joining our Patreon and supporting this wonderful group. But concerning this podcast, you can get it 2 days early if you'd like to get it on Fridays, on the date that is on the thumb, other than Sundays. Our tip-top tier at patreon.com/easyallies is our shout-out tier. Right now, I'm going to shout out 4 lovely people who support us so tremendously every month. Shout out to El Fanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Caleb Togi Crawford, and Nick. Shout out. Daniel Bloodworth. You won. Good job. You get to promote any Easy Allies video you'd like to promote. You get the final word on anything you disagreed with, want to reiterate, or just popped into your head. And you get to sign off with your trademark sign-off.
I'm going to promote, I don't know if it'll be up by the time you watch this, but we just, before this, we shot spoiler mode.
Haven't done one in a while.
For Metroid Dread, yeah. And
it's a good spoiler mode.
We were chomping at it. I think I said everything I wanted to say about that game, which...
I stayed out of the room, but I heard laughter.
Yeah, and it's a game that, like, it has so many dimensions of things that, like, we don't want to spoil for people in other conversations. So, like, it's just, like, the perfect, just, like, get it all out there conversation.
It was such good energy because it was really like 4 people that care a lot about Metroid get to express that care with no barriers, really, which was nice.
Yeah, and so you can go to our Patreon and get that for just $1 a month. That's spoiler mode plus like 50 others. I don't know how many we got. There's a lot.
It's a good plug.
A lot of spoilers. It's a good plug. And then gonna start working on that Life is Strange tonight, so we can get that spoiler mode in the
game,
can.
right?
Yeah. Because Huber and Elise are like, what is taking you so long?
Yes.
So yeah,
Elise
that'll be my
pressure is
final
so
word
good.
because that's almost like 2 pitches. And we'll see you before the next blood moon rises.
Do you ever have those like things in the back of your mind where you're like, I want to get into this, but I know I shouldn't? Do you ever just hear kind of irrelevant, dumb stories that make you generally depressed about the state of the world?
Poopy.